1,000 employees. You talk to every new hire.
Everyone.
Why do you think it's important for you to make that connection with every single person?
Establish a clear expectation of what the standard is right from the beginning.
What is that clear expectation?
I basically open up every one of those orientation meetings with a statement that in this company that you are not permitted to do anything that you feel is unsafe. And I follow that up with a very simple question of what does unsafe mean to you? What is unsafe to me is completely different than unsafe to you. You have to be able to make that determination on what is unsafe for you.
I'm in charge of your stop work authority.
Stop work authority, yes.
Yeah, tell me about that. I've never heard that term before.
Stop work authority is authority that every single employee in this organization has, whether they know that they have it or not. And that's if you see something unsafe, you have the responsibility to stop anyone at any time for doing something that you feel is unsafe.
Hello, I'd like to welcome you all to the Wisdom of Wrench podcast. My name is Kevin Comerford, and we've got a great show today. We're going to be talking about culture, specifically safety culture. And we've got a remarkable guest that's joining us today from one of our elite companies inside of Wrench. I'm going to introduce this gentleman in a second. I'm really excited. I've spent a little bit of time with him before we got going this morning. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy this time that we have with this gentleman, learning how it is that we can all be safer as an organization, as individuals, and make sure that we get home to our families every single night. Because really, at the end of the day, that is the bottom line, getting home safe to our families, who we all know we love so much, care about. So let's get rolling. Okay. In studio, behind the equipment, I've got my faithful Andrew Zaragoza, who is always there to give an outsider's perspective and ask questions of our guests, really from outside of the box, mainly because Andrew's never really been inside the box, meaning he's outside the trades, he's outside our industry. He certainly has learned a lot through doing the podcast, but does a great job in asking those questions. So just look for Andrew to poke in and ask questions like he always does. Great to have you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, let's get right to our guest. Our guest, his name is Phil Rapp, and he works at our very largest wrench company. Our company, our wrench company that has over 1,000 team members. Okay. Now, let me say that again, 1,000 team members in the Arizona area between Phoenix and Tucson, which again, for a company with 1,000 team members to finish second in the GOAT Awards amongst all 30 brands is remarkable. The amount of hours this company and the amount of people they have out there in the field is they're almost 2 times the amount of worked hours that the second most wrench company has, or the company that's second in wrench in total hours worked. So we've got the guy. We've got the guy to talk to us on how he's built a safety culture and moved Parker from being third in the organization the last 2 years to now in 2025, where they finished second. So with that, I'd like to welcome Phil. Phil, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to get deep into safety, Phil. You're the guy that we want to hear from. You're the guy we want to talk to. And we are delighted that you're able to join us.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'll do my best.
I love it. Okay, so let's just start a little bit with who you are, your background, how you got into safety. Let's start there if we could, Phil.
Yeah, perfect. I started with Parker back in November of 2024. So, basically 2025 was my first full year here with Parker. I've been in safety. I started in safety more than 20 years ago. I started with a manufacturing company. You may have heard of Old Castle, one of the largest suppliers of building materials in the world. I was part of their precast concrete division. I didn't start in safety with them. I started working, I started working on the factory. I do the plant manager. He'd been asking me to work for him for a couple of years. Finally, some life circumstances happened. And, I found myself in need of a job. A couple months after being at the plant, he offered me, the safety and quality role. I want to say my whole safety career, the catalyst in my whole safety career, 2 months after I became the plant safety manager, we had a tuberculosis breakout in the plant in which all of the executives from Oldcastle, including people from overseas, came through our plant in that time. So I spent a lot of time learning more about tuberculosis and working with executives. It truly became the catalyst, and it just propelled my safety career into what it is now. It was fun. But before that, to give everybody a little bit about myself, some things that are going to probably make some of my coworkers laugh. Some people are probably going to go, Others are going to go, that makes sense. I'm a preacher's kid. I grew up, but first 15 years of my life in the church. Everything from youth ministry to Bible quiz teams, and taught me a lot of character and a lot about who I was. It was a good, solid upbringing. But then, like all of us, I turned 14 years old and I knew everything. And I didn't need spiritual guidance anymore. I didn't need people to tell me what I needed to do. I knew everything. So, preacher's kid, naturally I rebelled. Then spent the next couple, the rest of my adolescence and young adult life, proving that I knew everything. It wasn't until several years later that I realized I did not know everything. Learned some valuable lessons along the way. I like to say my life has taught me how to overcome things. I battled everything from, obesity to addiction to the loss of a child. And all of those things have just taught me how to put one foot in front of the other, deal with the tasks in front of you, and never give up. And it might sound cliche, but I had to prove to myself before I was able to actually believe in that cliche that you truly can do anything that you put your mind to. And it's that own personal dedication and a willingness to hold yourself accountable. So, life hasn't always been easy. Here at Parker, those life lessons have all taught me how to excel here at Parker. It's been an interesting ride. One of the first, when I first came to Parker, like you said, culture was the big thing. How do we? It was basically the focus of my interview was culture. How do we change culture? And I'm hoping we get into it, as your opening stated, we'll get into that a little bit today, and we'll see if we can't identify culture.
So you sounds like you made a transition from manufacturing to the trades.
Correct.
And what would you say you've seen is the difference between manufacturing and what you're doing today with the trades?
In the safety world, the difference is almost night and day. In the manufacturing world, I can control I can control what's in those four walls. In the service field, I can't control what our technicians are getting into with their homeowners. I can't control the conditions even in the slightest. I can't even identify all the variables, let alone control them. So big difference between, that, to me, that's the biggest difference is you don't have control. All we can, and if you can't control and you can't eliminate the variables, all we can do is give our employees the training, the tools, and the knowledge that they need to protect themselves and to protect their coworkers.
So I never even thought about that, but that's a great point. So it sounds to me, if I'm hearing you correctly, there's a tremendous amount of trust, amount of faith, that an amount of autonomy that our team members have out in the field, in the trades. And so it's your job, it sounds like to me, your job is to equip them and almost let go.
You might
Am I
have
here?
to. I, I,
Yeah.
I tell all my, you're probably going to hear me talk about, my new hires, because I talk to every new hire that comes through here, because I truly believe that that's where it starts. But yeah, I tell my new hires, I can't be out at every job with you. I can't be out there to protect you. I need you to make the right choices every day. That requires being, having the education to know what the right choice is and being empowered to make that right choice. That's where the supervisors come in, empowering our employees to make the right choices, knowing that they don't have the supervision in the field.
You just said something, and I think it's so important for all the team members inside of Wrench to know, and all the safety managers. It sounds to me like 1,000 employees, 1,000 plus. I
Right?
just heard you say you talk to every new hire.
Everyone.
Okay, so that's big right there. Now, why is that? And how do you do that? Why do you think it's important for you to make that connection with every single person at the beginning?
Establish a clear expectation of what the standard is right from the beginning. I don't want them to learn bad habits. I don't want them to assume the expectation. I want them to know the expectation and be confident about it.
Yeah. And so tell me, could you share with me a little bit about, if I'm a new team member, what is that clear expectation? Like, pretend like you're talking to me. I'd love to know what that clear expectation is. You're going to set the standard, and I want to know what it is. I'm sure you've got a whole write-up that a safety manager could certainly use when they're meeting with new team members, but just give me an idea.
It starts with, I basically open up every one of those orientation meetings with a statement that in this company that you are not permitted to do anything that you feel is unsafe. And that always raises I always get the wide eyes, and everybody always wants to know what I mean by that. And I follow that up with a very simple question of, what does unsafe mean to you? And I'm always interested at the responses I get. But what it all boils down to is unsafe. What is unsafe to me is completely different than unsafe to you. You have to be able to make that determination on what is unsafe for you. And if you don't, and it's a feeling, I tell them, it's that split second gut feeling you get, that moment before you're about to do something stupid. And you got to be able to pay attention to that feeling and listen to that feeling. And if you don't feel that it's safe, please pick up the phone and call your supervisor. If you're, and then if you still feel like you're being asked to do something that you feel is unsafe, pick up the phone and call me, call someone on my team. Don't argue with your supervisor. Don't fight with your supervisor. Pick up the phone and call me. We'll see if I can't get together with your supervisor and find a safe alternative. We might not be able to eliminate the hazard, but at least we can reduce the risk and find a way that you feel comfortable doing it. The second
So I just
part.
heard two things there. Oh, go ahead. No,
Please.
I was going to say, I just heard two things there, and I want to come back to what you said about the second part. Number one, it clearly sounds like you're telling them, look, you're in charge. You're in charge of your own safety. No one is to ever put you in an unsafe situation. And if they do, go talk to your supervisor.
Correct.
If you're unsatisfied with your supervisor, by golly, come to me. So it sounds to me, Phil, like you're giving people, yes, you're putting them in charge, and you're also giving them a lifeline that if they ever have that supervisor, we hope they don't, but that it's driving so hard that they have a place to go. Is that what I heard correctly?
Totally. Again, because the onus is on them. We have to empower them to make the right choice. But to your point, the lifeline's the best way I could describe that as well. I'm not just throwing you to the wolves. I want you to reach out and get resources. I want you to want to do the right thing, but you're not on your own. Yes, you have the autonomy to make those choices for yourself. I need you to make the right choice. I don't expect you to always know what the right choice is. Pick up the phone. We can figure it out together. We're on the same team.
Phil, I wanted to ask because like I've been at, previous jobs where like I did have to do something I felt uncomfortable with, like especially when I was really young, like, hey, you got to go clean out the storage space that's full of black widows and all these weird things. Like I didn't want to do them. But if I didn't do them, it's like, oh, he doesn't want to work hard or he doesn't want to do the thing. So how would you advise somebody that maybe has felt like they were put in that situation where they almost feel like a whistleblower, right? Like they're like, I want to speak up, but I don't want to ruffle feathers because I want to prove that I'm valuable in my company. But man, I don't know. This seems a little sketch because the person I'm going to ask and tell that like, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing this is also the person that might be responsible for my like evaluation down the road. So what advice do you have for a team member that might be feeling that?
I get this question probably every single week in every single orientation class. And my answer to that is, what's your life worth? If your supervisor or if you're still being made to feel like you need to do something that you feel is unsafe, you got to ask yourself, what's your life worth? I give examples. Your supervisor is probably going to say something like, I sent Johnny out there yesterday. He didn't have a problem with it. And I kind of make a joke and I tell the new hires, put it back in him. My response would be, oh, why didn't you send Johnny today? I'm not going down into that crawl space with a bunch of snakes. It's not happening. We can't expect our employees to do their job safely and correctly, which correctly is safely, if they're worried about the conditions they're working in. I can't be 100% focused on the task at hand if I'm worried if that spider's coming over to get me, or if that snake's, slithering over this way. So when they feel like they're being pressured to do something that they feel is unsafe, I want to make sure that they know that they have a resource to reach out to, and that it's okay to use your stop work authority and not do something that you feel is unsafe. You have the power to not do it, to not put yourself at risk, even if it is in contradiction to maybe direction from your supervisor. You are the one responsible for yourself, and you have to make the right choice. It's tough.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, that you're in charge. Did you say I'm in charge of your stop work authority?
Stop work authority, yes.
Yeah, tell me about that. I've never heard that term before.
Somewhat popular term in the safety world. And stop work authority is authority that every single employee in this organization has, whether they know that they have it or not. And that's if you see something unsafe. I'm not telling you that you should report it or that you should stop that person from hurting themselves. I'm saying you have the responsibility as a coworker. You have the responsibility to stop anyone at any time for doing something that you feel is unsafe. You might question them, and they might say, no, I've considered all of the safety, and I did this, and you might not have realized that. But it's just stopping them and having that conversation. You're making sure that every employee understands that they have the authority to stop anyone at any time if they feel that something is unsafe. That we have a responsibility to each other, and that's the commitment I ask from every new hire. I can't make you care about yourself, but I will demand while you're here that you do everything you can to protect yourself and to protect others.
Those are big statements. Those are big statements. And you know what they are? Those are empowering statements. And those are statements that I can see would help build that safety culture. That's huge. So going back to Andrew's question, there is a natural push and pull that happens in an organization. Okay, maybe that supervisor is pushing, right? Is pushing to get more revenue, is pushing that team member because maybe they're unaware that, that really is an unsafe situation, but that, there might be a natural push to drive business from the supervisor. And there's a pull from you or the organization or just the safety culture. It's just a natural push and pull, which I think is healthy. I don't think that's a bad thing. There's got to be this natural push and pull. In my opinion, I'll give you another example that I see it in the organization. There's multiple places. But how do you manage that push and pull that is there?
I'm going to ask you, Kevin, the same question I ask every one of my new hires. How many times have you heard a safety guy say safety first? How many times have you heard it?
A lot.
Did you believe him when he said it?
I thought it was a tagline. It was a tagline.
So again, when we say safety first, does Parker and Sons, does the Wrench Group, does any one of our other 30 companies exist to be the safest residential service company in America? No. Are our employees here to be the safest residential service technician in the company? We're here to make money. We're here to make money. So if knowing that we're here to make money, when somebody says safety first, that to me, it applies one of two things. One, it's safety first. It's the most important, which it is important. But if it's safety first and I do that first, well, then I'm done with it. I don't have to worry about safety anymore. And then two, if it's knowing that it's not safety first, that our priority is going to be making money, then it has to be safety always in everything that we do. And pushing our team to make sure that they understand that safety just has to become part of everything that we do. It's not first, it's not last, it's just a part of everything we do. To me, once safety gets ingratiated into everything we do, that's when I'll look at this company and say, we've achieved our safety culture goal of everybody's striving towards the same thing, because safety is intrinsically part of everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. So how do you get to the team member's heart when it comes to safety and the emotional part of safety? Because I think there is clearly the administrative part, right? Got to make sure I put my harnesses on. Got to make sure whatever I'm I'm putting my non-skid shoes on, my steel-toed boots, whatever it is. There's so much to me that's emotional about safety. If I can get to the heart of what truly safety is, I that to me, and I'm asking this more of that to me is what I think is the winning combination. Do you agree with that, or is that how it is at Parker?
Run that by me again, Kevin. I'm not sure I completely under.
Yeah, and I've always looked at safety from the perspective that, and it's usually telling a story about a technician that got injured and wasn't able to go home to their family. And those real stories are the ones that I've always felt, if I could tell that story, that sinks in to a team member and you're really touching their heart. Because safety in so many ways to me is administrative. But I want to get to the heart of it and the feeling in order to really make a difference with that team or really embed it in the culture.
I think you nailed it right there, Kevin. And again, this is why I like to meet with all the new hires, because again, it starts right from the beginning. And I make it personal. And I think you nailed it again with the emotion. I don't want that. I tell all my new hires, I don't want you to follow the rules or to be safe because I'm telling you to be safe. I don't want you to follow the rules or to be safe because the company's telling you to. I want you to want to, for whatever reasons you have. And I end every class by trying to get through on an emotional level. And I end every single class by asking them for a favor. And my favor is very simple. I tell them, I hope I get to meet your loved one and your reason for being here. I start the class with asking them what their reason is. And it's usually family, money, bills, whatever it might be. And I tell them, I want to meet them. I'm hoping it's at some picnic or barbecue or some camping trip that some of our departments do. But my only favor is don't make me meet them in a hospital because I'm sick of doing it. And I don't want to do it anymore. I've had purses swung at me. I've had moms come at me. I've had wives mad at me. One dad came over to the hospital, but I wasn't even there. I do my best to reach him on an emotional level to get him to see that there's real life, dramatic consequences that can change your whole world in an instant. And most of the time it's caused from just one momentary lapse of focus and one poor judgment call that can change your whole world. And it's putting the onus on them to stop and think before you do it, because it's not just going to affect you and it's not just going to affect this company. It's going to affect your whole life and those that you care about. And I tend to get the emotional response most of the time. And I can tell you that almost every class, somebody comes to me and tells me that was the most passionate message they've ever heard from a safety person. So to answer that question, I think it's being passionate, and showing them that you care about them and their well-being. And it's about them and not about the, to your point, not so much the administrative side. The administrative side is on the back end. That's what I do on the back end. But to the employee, especially to an injured employee, it's about them. I care about them.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you do at Parker every day. Some of the success habits, some of the things that you have in place that create this culture of safety.
I can tell you one of the first things I identified when I started with Parker. One of my first questions is, great, I got to meet went around, met all the supervisors and managers, and my first question was, awesome, when's the next supervisor or leadership meeting so I can get in front of all these guys at one time and not have to have 48 different conversations? We don't have one of those. What do you mean we don't have one of those? We don't put all of our supervisors and managers in one room at least once a month, give them the same message? No, didn't happen there. That's one of the first things I did. And by month 3, I put every supervisor and manager in one room, make sure they all hear the same message at the same time. One voice, one accord, we're all on the same team. So I think that was a big change. And it was eye-opening for a lot of supervisors to realize that though they weren't doing it, they found the value in that very, very quickly, that they were able to bounce things off each other. And it's something that now I get supervisors asking me for. When's the next meeting? I got a couple of things I want to bounce off other people. And they're coming to me now because they see the value in getting everybody together and getting everybody in that same one mindset, one accord. And it's helped tremendously. The other big part of that I realized, Kevin, is we got to push even our supervisors, we got to push them. I got a little frustrated in one of my last meetings. I'm like, guys, I stopped sending out daily updates, and then you guys just stopped doing what we've been doing for months. But because I stopped sending the updates, you guys just stopped. I was like, you guys need me to push you to do it? And I had a manager that popped in and was like, nah, we don't need you to push us. It's just your daily reminders just brought it to the forefront of our mind. It was just that reminder. We're all focused on so many other things, on revenue and labor and dollars. And he's like, just seeing your email, I remember, I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that too. And it just kind of changed my mindset. It's not that I felt like I was hounding them and with daily emails and just grinding it into them. It wasn't. It was just, they looked at it as, it's just a reminder. It feels keeping us on our toes. And they appreciated that. So, Even when we feel like we're hounding on them, it's just keeping things at the front of the mind.
It sounds to me like you've heard the term, obviously, CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you are the CRO, the Chief Remind Officer.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're the CRO.
Yeah.
And that's fabulous, because that was going to lead me to a question I have, like what type of accountabilities do you have in place to make sure that we're keeping safety at the forefront? It sounds like the daily reminder that you're sending out, but is there anything else that you're doing to make sure that, hey, we've got accountability when it comes to the culture that we want, which is getting home safe to our families?
Okay. Yeah. Couple different things along those lines. We've created a new policies. We've updated some of our policies just to make them a little more clear. One of the big ones is, though we were told it would be almost impossible to do and we would struggle to enforce it, we wrote a policy about electronic device use while driving. And we wrote a policy that made a very strict, first offense is a write-up. Second offense is a suspension. If you're caught using your cell phone while driving, they told us we couldn't do it. That we'd never get our guys to start putting down their cell phones. And I can tell you, my safety coordinator just came to me this morning. Was like, Phil, we have not had one all week. Not one technician has picked up their cell phone while driving yet this week. So first time we've gone 3 days, but it's huge. So it's policies, procedures. I will tell you, I had to preach this for quite some time, and it took some time before the leadership in this organization really believed me when I say it, but I only know one way to manage safety, and that's to be fair, firm, and consistent across the board. There's no favoritism. Everyone is held to the same standards, the same accountability. If I write a policy for drivers, and we have supervisors that drive, we have managers that drive, make it very clear. There's no, everyone is equal. We're all on the same team, same accountability. Being consistent is, in my mind, one of the most important things when it comes to safety. Making sure that we are fair, but firm and consistent. And it takes out the ambiguity. It takes out the question. I always say the more exceptions we grant, the more exceptions we have to make. Not that safety's cut and dry, just trying to be very selective on the exceptions that we make.
Well, let's take that. I love that. Fair, firm, and consistent. What, in your mind, what does fair look like? Like, if you're explaining fair, and maybe you have a story that goes along with that, what does fair look like?
Yeah. Fair is tough. And I'm going to be probably industry specific, not so much company specific, but industry specific. And when it comes to being fair, one of the things that I heard a lot and very often is, well, he's my top performer. He's my top guy. And I have to say, it doesn't matter. Anytime that I have a supervisor or somebody come into me wanting an exception, and they know, and I'll even say it over and over again, that I'm just going to be fair, firm, and consistent. Yeah, but okay, would we be having this conversation? Would you be even coming to me asking for an exception? Yeah, if there was an accident, if he hit somebody in his vehicle. Yeah, he was talking on his phone, but he was just talking to his supervisor, or he was just trying to help out another technician. Okay, I understand that. He could have pulled over off the side of the road, but you and I would not be having this conversation if he would have hit somebody while he was talking on his phone. So when we talk about being fair, it's regardless of status, regardless of tenure, regardless of contribution. The rules are the rules. And when I have watched myself ruin my own credibility by not being firm and consistent, and in this line of work and in the safety field, credibility is everything.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like this firm and fair go hand in hand. You have to be firm, like you were mentioning about the top performer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's held to the same standard. Yet fair also plays into that. That you're not going to go after somebody because of a personal reason. Like I got a bone to pick with this guy or gal. Is that? I mean, I'm
100%.
sure too. Be careful of that.
We all, especially as managers, we all try not to do that, right? We don't want to show favoritism. We don't want to single anybody out or retaliate against anybody. It's the expectation that we're going to be fair. We all have our own biases, right? We all have those little things that irk us. You know, we all have our little things that we focus on. For me, the fair part of that is putting my own biases aside, putting company biases aside. It's being able to look at it from outside the box and remove the emotion. The more my team gets to know me, the more you get to know me, Kevin, you'll hear me say over and over again, it's business, it's not personal. Trying to remove the emotion from it to be objective and subjective is the hard part.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you say that it's business, not personal. Yet I also know from talking to you and that you're about the people and you're about visiting with the people. I'd love you to share a little bit about that. Like, we obviously talked about new hires, but how else are you visiting with the people at Parker? And what does that look like?
You know, I tend to be out in the yard quite a bit, you know, so it's refreshing for me to see a technician, you know, call out from across the room, "Hey, Phil," or from across the yard, you know, just wanting me to acknowledge them. And then I take that opportunity to follow up with them. Or it might just be some random technician walking by. I like to comment on, you know, maybe it's the condition of their vehicle. Maybe it's, "Hey, you got straps on your ladders. You know, great job." It's being that presence of, I'm here and I'm a resource. And yes, even though I'm identifying things that I might see as a deficiency, I'm not coming at them harsh or negatively or running back to their supervisor and, you know, telling them what I saw. For me, it's having that conversation. It's building that trust. As we talked about in the beginning, I'm a resource and I'm here for you. I don't want to be looked at as the safety cop. I don't want anyone on my team to be looked at as the safety cop. We're a resource. I approach it in the field as a lifeguard. And everybody always looks at me funny when I say that. What do you mean a lifeguard? Well, what does a lifeguard do? Well, when you're swimming too close to the rocks, what's the lifeguard do? You're getting there's a hazard there. You might get hurt. They blow their whistle and they tell you to get away from the rocks. But then, you know, as a safety manager, same thing as a lifeguard. Once you do get hurt, once you do get yourself into a situation where, you know, you find yourself in an unsafe situation, you got hurt, I'm the first one in the water. I'm the first one making sure you get the absolute best care you can possibly get. I am the one that's going to advocate for you. It's showing that not only am I responsible for accountability, but I also own the responsibility of being that resource and being that lifeline for them. And I'm there for them. And my team is there for them, which in turn translates to the company is there for them.
What a great analogy, the lifeguard analogy. I love that. Something you said a minute ago that I want to make sure people got, and maybe you can expand on it a little bit. I'm in the yard. I heard you say this. And I noticed that someone's got their straps on their ladder correctly tied up or whatever it is. Someone's got their safety cone ready to put it out before they stop. What I hear you say there, what I heard you say there is catch people doing something right. Like be the one. I'm going to go back to John Wooden, the famous coach for UCLA Bruins. He used to talk about a 4-to-1 ratio when and this is the gentleman that won 10 championships in a row with the UCLA basketball team. He had a 4-to-1 ratio. If you're going to tell somebody that, you did this wrong, that's fine. Just make sure your ratio is 4-to-1. Catch them doing 4 things right and be intentional. So I want to make sure everybody heard what you said, which was when I'm out in the yard, I'm going out looking for correct things that I can compliment guys on. Because it's natural, you're going to blow the whistle and tell them to get away from the rocks, right? It's natural.
And that's what's funny is everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, most people look at safety that way. They look at the safety guy as just being the cow. It's a hard stigma to break. And I love the 4-to-1 ratio. I've never heard the 4-to-1 ratio, but I like it. Mine was always start with something positive, end with something positive. If you're going to give somebody corrective feedback, start positive and end positive. But on that same note, it's when you have to, you want to reinforce the positive for sure, as often as you can, so that when you are addressing the at-risk behaviors, they know you've already enforced the positive behaviors. You've already enforced the safe behaviors. So now when you're addressing it, it's not them coming down on you. It's not me coming down on them. It's me looking out for them. And because I set that expectation right from the beginning with every new hire, I don't get pushback from the new hires. I get a little bit of pushback from the guys that have been here for a while and haven't been through orientation with me, but I don't get any pushback from the new hires that have been through my course, because I made it a point to say that I'm here for you, and I'm just here to look out for you because I care about you. Now when I go to give that constructive feedback or ask them to correct something, they know it's coming out of a place of caring and not just some abstract or cracking a whip or trying to check some box, that they understand my why. And to me, to go back to the very beginning, that's why I want to make sure that I meet with every new hire, because I think it starts with them. When you set the clear expectation right from the beginning, it makes everything down the road that much easier.
How many people, just in general, and we could say Parker or Wrench in general, do you think have grown up with the 4-to-1 ratio? and the 4-to-1 ratio that John Wooden talks about versus what my guess is most people get the opposite when they're growing up. So no wonder when Phil comes in, right? We're dealing with a lot of deep stuff from folks' childhood, just the way that they were raised. And so when they're ready and they're defensive because they might have gotten 4-to-1 the other way. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you have to take that into account, that naturally people are going to look at the authority figure as get away from me, and it may be because of the way they were raised. Thoughts on that, Phil? We're all broken.
Nature, nurture. Yeah, the endless debate. We can sit here and talk about this for a while. It's tough. And it's funny you mentioned that, because again, I do touch on that and all the time. Like, we all have stuff going on in our lives, and you never know what anyone else is going through,
or has been through.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I think it's setting that expectation that we care about them. And that I don't know what you've been through. You don't know what I've been through. You're here to do a job, and all I'm trying to do is help you do your job correctly. And I stress that correctly is the way you're trained, doing it the right way, and doing it safely so that you get home every day. So.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Sorry, were you finished? You want to finish your point?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. I care about you. Oh, okay. So I just listened to Phil. I'm being a safety manager. So Phil just said I have to make sure I tell my people I care about them. I'm a believer that your actions speak so loud, I can't even hear what you're saying. So how do I demonstrate to my people, or how do you demonstrate to your people through your actions that you care about them versus just your words?
That's a really good question, Kevin. Yeah, to lead by, to that extent, to lead by example is not easy. But it's just not. Repeat the question again. Just want to make sure I.
Well, I mean, clearly one of the things you're doing is you're getting out from behind your desk and you're going out into the yard, right? That to me is you specifically taking action, which is I'm going to go and meet these people. I'm going to go and be with them, right? Rather than Phil being a human doing in his office, okay? Because that's what we tend to be as managers. We tend to be human doings. And the reality is that our people want us to be human beings. They want us to just be with them, be present with them. So I see your actions in just being with people by going out rather than sitting behind your desk. You follow me?
Yeah, now I definitely do follow it, and honestly, that's where I get the value in safety. Sending out an email and policies, and it's impersonal. Now
It's a doing. You're a human doing.
Yeah, I'm not human anymore. That safety guy, you don't know what he's talking about. He don't know how to do my job. That safety guy doesn't know nothing. Then when I get him face to face and they can see my passion and they can see that I'm truly just trying to get through to them. I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I'm not trying to be their boss. I'm not even trying to give them direction. I'm trying to get through to them, trying to connect with them. And to me, that connect, once they realize that it's not a paper pushing, it's not check the box, that it truly is about them and empowering them and getting their buy-in and their commitment, not because I say to, not because the company wants to, because you should want to for your whatever your reasons are. So getting out in the field, getting out in front of them, making those personal connections takes me from being the safety guy to this is Phil, and Phil cares. And Phil's looking out for me. I want to help Phil accomplish his goals because he's trying to help me accomplish mine.
So you're out in the field, you're out in the yard. Okay. And somebody tells you something. Hey, I'd like you to look into this. What does Phil do with that? What does, and tell me about the follow-up process to that team member.
That's the critical part. And it's one of the things that I stress to my team all the time. Somebody comes to you with something, you might not have the answers right away. And it's okay to tell them that you don't have the answer and that you'll get back to them with the answer. But the important part to that is no matter what, you got to get back to them. Like I said, when you're building your safety culture from the ground up, you have to you have to address their concerns. That you want them to come to you with their concerns. Being able to take their concerns. The key that I have learned for me in that moment is making sure they know that you heard them. First and foremost, it's not blowing them off. It's not, yeah, I hear you. I'll look into that. It's, I appreciate you addressing this with me. I want to look into this. I will get back to you as soon as I have an answer. Where you lose them completely is when you don't get back to them at all. Even getting back to them and saying, you know what, it's still on my plate. I just haven't got an answer yet. I'm still going to get you on. It helps with that. It's credibility. Again, you came to me with something. I don't have an answer right now, but I'm going to get back to you. And that's tough in our industry. It really is. When we all have so many priorities.
Is there a system or something that you use to make sure that you get back to someone? Is there a habit? Because I know I used to struggle with that. Because I would, take it. I wouldn't write it down, yeah. Is there something that a system you have to make sure that you're following up?
I wish I could tell you I had a system, but I don't.
Yeah.
Having a system would be better for sure. I tend to write it down.
My system was, right?
I tend to write it down. I get back to my office and I'm like, I got to follow up on that. And
yeah,
I'll usually, and anytime somebody brings me a suggestion, my first thing is as soon as I walk back into my house, I talk to my safety coordinator. I'm like, hey, this person, we have to make sure that we get back to them. And I kind of use him as my balance.
Yeah.
My check.
And what I was sharing with you is I used to be, and I've shared this in previous podcasts, I used to be a guy that would write a bunch of notes on a piece of paper and shove them in my pocket. And then I got this journal that I always, whenever I walk around with team members out in the yard, I have this journal with me that I'm making notes in all the time because I forget, and it's nothing I did. I offended that person because I forgot to follow up and didn't even realize it, but I just burnt that relationship and I just became the guy that lied to them because I said I cared about them, but my actions told them something totally different. That was me before I had this journal because I would forget. I would get ADD. I get distracted by somebody else. So it's like, I have to my system is so lame. I immediately have to write it down.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like, okay, Johnny wants me to follow up. He needs some, he's lacking booties or whatever it is, floor savers, or he doesn't have, his cone is ripped and I need to get him a new cone. Right. To me, Phil, in my experience, as the president of the company, there was nothing more that brought me joy than to bring Johnny that cone. Because Johnny loved it, but everybody else saw that this Kevin, the president, BS. Meaning the president, he's the one that brought him the cone. Right. Because the higher you get in an organization, it just means the more you have to serve. That's all it means. The more you have to serve. And you as the safety manager and those people in Wrench who are the safety leaders, we want this culture of safety. And so we put you guys up as far as high on the pedestal. It just means you have to serve more. That's all it means.
Right.
It's no different.
It's a concept that has probably caused, stirred up more barroom conversations than I'd care to admit to. But when you talk about, being a boss or being a leader, big one. And then, the other one along with that, it's not so much being a boss or being, where's I going to go with that? Being a leader. It's, by definition of leader, there's no such thing as a bad follower. And that is a concept that a lot of managers tend to struggle with. You know, if you are the leader, you're leading a group of people. Is there such thing as a bad follower?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're you just have to serve more. The higher you go up in the org, chart, you just have to serve more.
The joy in that comes from when people are naturally following you. When you don't have to assert leadership. You know, when people just naturally gravitate towards you and naturally follow you. You know, that's where you get that little bit of pride and that little bit of joy, where people come to you as a resource. And I think that's the other part that I stressed right from the beginning. I didn't say the word extreme open door policy. My door, my phone, my email, my text messages open to everyone in this organization at any time. It's an extreme open door policy. Making yourself available, that I'm here for you no matter what your station in this company is. I will do my best to support you.
I had a manager in my company that I used to coach quite often, and it was based on a word you just said. People want leadership and leadership skills, whatever that means, right?
Right.
Ability to be able to lead others, influence others. What I always believed was more important was fellowship. How to get people to run through a wall for you. And it's like being on a deserted island. Phil, what's more important if you're on a deserted island and it's just Phil? What's more important, charisma or character? What's more important if you're on a deserted island? Tell me what you can do with charisma on a deserted island.
Charisma on a deserted island, to me, would serve you no purpose to yourself. Charisma is perception, other people's perception of you, you know, where character, so I guess the way I look at it, charisma is other people's perception of you, where character, you can judge your own character. And that comes down to your own integrity and your own moral compass. You know, so if it were me on an island, what's more important to me? I would have to say character.
100%.
Gotta be character.
Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really, when you're there with Wilson, the ball, the volleyball, charisma, it doesn't really matter that much. So it's that going back to character and fellowship. What I found in my experience, Phil, and maybe you saw this too, is if I just, it's so simple. And I'm going to throw up. It's so simple. If I just do what I say I'm going to do, like, okay, I'm going to bring you this, you got a broken cone. It's cracked. If like doing those little things, holy cow. You want to know how you get people to run through a wall for you? And you want to know, and that's fellowship. It's responding immediately and with intention that you're going to follow, like going out of your way for the guy in the warehouse, the guy who maybe people perceive as the lowest guy on the totem pole. No way.
That's the other one that killed me. We can get into that later. The lowest guy on the totem pole. There's 4 legs on a chair. Take one of them away, you're gonna fall over. Everyone's equal. We're all equally important in a company. But yeah,
it's true. Especially when it comes to a human life.
Yes, and when I like where you're going with fellowship, and yeah, to answer your question, how do you get somebody to run through a wall for you? And never really thought about it that way, but to answer, make them believe that they can, and they will.
Hmm.
And, and that's the hard part is it your job to, as an influencer, are you demanding that they run through the wall? No, the objective is to get them to want to run through the wall. Not telling them that they have to. The objective is to get them to want to. That's where you win. That's the win. They don't even have to do it. The fact that they wanted to do it and that they're willing to do it, you've already won.
Well, Phil, if you're getting people from across the driveway that are yelling your name, hey, Phil, that's a huge indicator that's a feel good, right? That you're making a difference because, typically the safety manager, they want to duck away.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's crazy refreshing because I can tell you there's a couple of departments I walk into, safety guy. And then, to hear people welcoming you, it lets me know that I've met my goal in establishing the tone of my objective. And again, my objective is that I'm here for you. So that to me is the validation of that objective and that goal.
Do you have any safety stories inside of Parker that have kind of helped create the culture you're looking to create?
I'm not going to say driving just because it's probably one of the things where a lot of people are looking at Parker going, how have you managed to do that?
God bless Lytics.
God bless. Even though most of my guys hate it, they're starting to embrace it.
Yeah. What I did is I installed Lytics in my own vehicle, personal vehicle, when we rolled it out. Still have it installed today. Still monitored. Oh yeah. To the vehicle that I pulled up and drove in today. Why? Because there was it was almost an anarchy. When we put in Lytics, like, oh my gosh, it's personal privacy and you're going to video me. And, guys, I'm doing it. I got it in my car. I got it in my personal car, not my company vehicle, my personal car. Cause I wanted to understand what our people were going through and I got a love-hate relationship with it. It holds me accountable. It's a good thing. Let me assure you, when I take that quick phone, when I take that, whatever, that look at my phone, it's quick to say, stop it. And I'm like, thank God, this damn thing, it's good. It's a healthy thing. We had a situation where I was talking to a technician this past week that texted me because they were in a car accident that ended up not being his fault, but it caused a fatality.
Oh.
Wasn't his fault. The police had him in the back of his car because he was the one on the scene when the police got there. We were able to show the Lytics video and saw that the person ahead of him was the one that created the death of the person. The text message I got from me is, thank God for Lytics. I never thought I would say this. He was in the back of the police car, Phil. Okay?
About to be charged.
Yeah.
Huh?
Or just, and the video was what revealed that he was not at fault. In fact, he had two hands on the steering wheel. Unbelievable.
And again, I say the same thing.
This happened last week.
The fact that the dash cam is going to get you out of more trouble than it's going to get you into. Now, the in-cab camera is going to show some stuff, but again, it's not Big Brother.
Amen.
That was the big thing that eased a lot of the minds here. We don't allow it to be a I Spy program. I don't know if I should be bringing this up in this setting, but we took the permissions away from every single manager and supervisor to be able to go in and make recordings in Lytics because the perception was that technicians perceived that if they have the ability to do that, that supervisors and managers were going back and spying on them. We listened to that. We heard that. And we removed that ability. And now it every new hire is like, I can't believe that. That's refreshing. That you actually identified that that some people were abusing the privilege, and that you don't want it to be a Big Brother program. That you're not trying to spy on us. Like, no, Lytics is meant to improve driving behaviors, not spy on our employees.
All I got to say, Phil, is that is your action speaks so loud I can't hear what you're saying. Meaning the fact that you listened and heard people with those concerns and took the action that you did to make them feel or give them the assurance that, look, this is not a spy program. It's one thing to say, this is not a spy program. It's another thing to take the permissions away, and that's powerful. That's powerful.
It's
powerful.
It helps the employees, again, to see that it's about protecting them. It's about protecting them, not trying to use safety as a disciplinary program. I would much, if I could make change without accountability, I would take this out of safety.
Yeah,
I really would.
So what advice would you have for future safety leaders, current safety leaders, people that are, you said you've got 20 plus years of experience in safety specifically.
Correct.
Here's your turn. Here's your chance. Give what feedback would you give them? What advice would you give them?
Make it about the people. Make it about the people. Like I said, I get people coming to me now and reaching out to me, coming to me without me having to address things. I get, instead of people ducking because the safety guys come in, I get people wanting to come to me, hey, Phil, I got an event yesterday. I just wanted to tell you personally before you saw it in Lytics, or I did this, or I did that. I just wanted you to know about it first. They feel that connection, that it's not just I'm trying to keep them safe. I want to say that my passion has helped them to see that they can come to me and they can rely on me. My advice to anybody else, especially somebody just getting started in the safety world, be confident and know your regulations, know the rules. It's got to be practical. And you got to care about people. It can't just be about regulation and rules. When you're talking about preventing injuries, you're talking about affecting somebody's livelihood. And you're talking about affecting not just them, it's the people that they care about. Make it personal. I know I said earlier, it's business, it's not personal, but in the safety world, making it personal to the employee, making them care. If I had one message, it's what I tried to drive home in this conversation. It's getting them to want to do it. Not doing it because they have to. It's finding a way to get them to want to. And I found that getting them to identify their personal reasons for why they do what they do, getting them to think before they act, convincing them it's for themselves and not for the company, not for revenue, not for dollars. It's for you. To me, that's the message.
Well, you started off, ironically, I wrote it as my first note that you wrote, which is you said it's about the people. The last thing you said, it's about the people. Make it personal.
Make it personal.
What I also got, Phil, is the importance of making connections. Deep connections with people so they bring you stuff. So they wave to you in the parking lot. And there's no way that they do that unless they see that you're passionate, which, let me tell you, Phil, it's clear. You are passionate, brother.
I appreciate that.
It's passion. You are passionate. And it's no wonder that Parker, finished third in 2023, finished third in 2024, is on its way, finished second in 2025, right?
Mhm.
You know, the full theme that I always go back to is always make your future bigger than your past.
Oh, yeah.
And third, second is telling me that Parker and Phil is always looking to make his future bigger than his past.
Do my best.
Yeah. So thank you for all your insight, Phil, and thank you for this. This was fantastic.
I hope so. I hope some of the things that I shared will help other safety professionals in our company achieve their goals. It goes out to all of them. Hit me up at any time. I'm here
And
for
we're
everybody.
gonna end it with this, brother. It's
I
about
appreciate
the
the time, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's about the people.
Yeah. And here's to a bigger future.
Amen to that.
Thanks, Phil.
You're very welcome, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.